All right. Thank you guys for being here. Obviously, we got a busy day here at City Hall, a busy week out talking with our community. I know I've got a meeting at noon today with downtown businesses, DIB, about parking. I've got State of the City tonight with Civicon, 6 o'clock at Sanders Beach. Obviously, free to attend. Would love to have you there. I know it'll be streaming on Facebook, and I believe 16:20 a.m. is going to be broadcasting it over the air tonight. So that is from 6 to 7:30, and it's been kind of enjoyable to actually go through and put this presentation together and think about a lot that's happened in the past year. And I think I've told you guys, many of you guys, this already. One slide makes it feel like it was yesterday, and another one makes my hair turn gray. But all in all, it's been very good, very rewarding for me personally, and really proud of the effort that all 800 employees here at the city have put forth to really, what I believe, up the urgency and get a lot of irons in the fire in a good way. That we've been able to get a lot of projects going, and we'll talk a lot about year two and kind of pivoting our focus to seeing a lot of these projects through, and that getting things started is one, and getting things executed is another. So anyway, excited to do that. And then we've got the town hall with Councilwoman Broughton at the Cobb Center on Thursday at 5:30. So that's what I mean by a busy week out there talking about the great things happening at the city. All right, a few things. If it isn't in your email already, it will be shortly. The resident satisfaction survey is out from the Haas Center, University of West Florida. And this is something that the city's been doing for a few years now, and we did make some pretty substantial changes to the questions, just in terms of, I've looked at a lot of polls and surveys and data over the years, and I tried to refresh it a little bit and make it a little bit more actionable. And I talked about on the radio this morning, an example was, we've asked year after year after year about the value of the mayor's neighborhood cleanup. Do you see it as a value or not? And it's, of course, 90% or 85% to 15%. It's a free thing. You can pick up all your stuff. All the citizens like it. Well, we don't have to ask that every year. I mean, if it's 85%, we have a pretty good idea that it's good. So we're trying to ask the questions that we may not have clear answers to. What are the priorities for you as citizens? What are your concerns? And so, we don't run away from a question that doesn't necessarily put the mayor or the city always in a glowing positive light, but we want the best data so we can take the best action for the 55,000 people who live here. So it's a lot of interesting data in here. So you'll see, if you were to compare the two, that there's been a lot of change in questions. And again, I'll go over some of the highlights of that tonight at 6 o'clock. But and I believe, off memory, we had, it might be in my notes here, but off memory, I think we had about 1,600-ish submissions. And so obviously more than enough of a sample size. I mean, even 350, 400 would be a strong enough sample size in terms of margin of error. So, and those are all city residents. So, there are a couple surveys out there. There's quality of life survey that I know Civicon rolled out. And I have a couple slides on that, of course, this evening to share. But that it is a little bit different. It's not as surgical, I guess, in terms of the city, because the resident satisfaction survey is just city residents. So there are a lot of questions in the quality of life survey that ask about the city, but it doesn't necessarily isolate city residents. It also might be perceptions of people who live outside the city. So value in both, but just that is one distinct difference in terms of actionable data out of this one. So 67% of city residents say that we're going in the right direction. That's obviously encouraging. And again, we can get into all sorts of details. It's about 20 pages or so, but you guys should have that in your email. Recycling drop-off update. We've ramped. We were 1,100 pounds last week. We had 1,900 this week. Continues to be. We've got a lot of great feedback, positive feedback from our residents. And obviously 0% contamination, as we hope. So 1,900 pounds total. So about a 61% increase from opening day. So we'll continue again. Saturdays from 7 to 3. It'll be open this Saturday. The only exception, of course, is over Thanksgiving weekend, that the 25th, that we will not be open. But we will continue to see that through. And cardboard is the popular item, 1,460 pounds of cardboard of that 1,859. Update on the community response, mental health response workers for PPD. We have hired one that began. Tom Edmiston started on October 30th. And then our second, we're going to get the paperwork finalized before we announce who that is, but the second will start on Monday, November 27th. So I do know Tom's already been out doing outreach, and as you can imagine, and this is a new role. So a lot of this is going to be acclimation to the existing services. If you're in outreach and you're dealing with someone with a mental health issue or trying to find opportunity for someone that's homeless, that you need to know where to send those people. So obviously that's a big part of the onboarding process for both of these positions, and that's what's already happening now with one of those. So anyway, really looking forward to that, and again, I know Tom will be part of that all-in strategic plan meeting coming up in a few weeks. That's got city and county participation, and when the second one starts, I've already mentioned to the chief that I'll be convening a group, really on behalf of the new employees, that just to try to shorten the amount of time it takes for those two employees to get all the way around our community. That I'll convene a meeting with some of our services just so we can put a name with a face, and also, again, we are doing nothing that is adverse to the efforts that are already out there. This is supposed to enhance everyone's effort out there. So I want to nip that in the bud immediately. That we are adding two people. The city's investing in two people into what should be a community working together to reduce homelessness, to help with mental health issues that we have in our community. So I certainly I don't want there to be any implications or presumptions that it's got to be done our way. This is our investment in trying to be a good community partner and be proactive and not just wait on other people to do things that we want to get out there. So anyway, once our second employee is on, I'll be convening a group and trying to again get them onboarded as quickly as possible. Good news. We've gotten a $176,000 grant from the U.S. DOT, Safe Streets for All, and appreciate Public Works, Caitlin, Brad, and everyone working on that. Of course, our grants office. It'll be used to pilot just quick build traffic calming things on Gonzales Street. If you remember, a couple years ago, there was a grant awarded for that we had done. We did. I know it was for a day. I don't remember if it was for a weekend. It was before I started, but we did the Gonzales Street Shareway as a little bit of a pilot program. So it's $176,000. That's not going to be a lot of transformational dollars, but it'll allow us to do some little quick build projects along Gonzales Street that I'm sure our team has gotten some feedback from that day, and we'll look at what the things that we can do. So anyway, we were one of 23 awardees in the state of Florida, so excited for that to help become more walkable and bikeable. Let's see, a couple more things. Obviously, Thanksgiving holiday, we'll be closed on Thursday and Friday. Just so you may have gotten questions. I know we have, with the change going now, increasing service, garbage service to twice a week. There was some confusion because the previous dates went out, maybe either right before I started or right after I started the calendars that are probably sitting on refrigerators. We are rescinding that for the last couple of holidays. There was some confusion around Veterans Day, but that it also was a little bit helpful in terms of education, because a lot of people that had complained didn't even realize that we had gone to this twice a week garbage. So we were able to share that good news with them. But we will have a new schedule coming out for these final couple holidays of the year. We'll be sending a mailer out, as well as on the other side of that, talking about the recycling drop-off center. So it was a good chance to communicate really two important things at once. So it'll have the remaining schedule this year. It'll have the 2024 schedule based on the twice-a-week garbage pickup, and then on the backside we'll give all the information that everybody needs on recycling. So I talked about State of the City at Town Hall. You did see it's been in the news about the fishing bridge. Excuse me, not supposed to be fishing from the bridge. The signs about not fishing from the pedestrian walkway. FDOT has been very good about communicating with us for weeks in advance that this was coming, and certainly have asked for our support in that and our public safety support on that. There are many public safety issues with this, not just the littering and the fish guts and the everything else that's being put on the pedestrian walkway, but we even since this has come out, we've seen more and more stories or mentions of hooks coming down onto boats in the water, fishing lines and hooks going into the street, or affecting cars, affecting vehicles. And if you're on a bike or you're jogging and you expect to walk through, there is no scenario, if you've ever been on there, there's no scenario of which fishing and running or biking, which is what it was designed for, can happen harmoniously. There is no scenario with that. So we know that the county is making progress on the fishing bridge. As you know, Wayside Park is ours. The fishing bridge is the county's. So we have been in some communication with them about getting that going. I'm sure that will certainly help relieve the pressure of or the desire of folks to want to fish on the bridge. But we have been asking, and we will be asking our folks to keep an eye out for that, just from a public safety standpoint, from vehicles to littering to pedestrians. It's not a good issue for us, right? The fact that this is taking place already has certainly not been helpful. So anyway, we'll help FDOT and others, and I know Gulf Breeze has been aware as well, working on that. Last thing, we do have, in case you guys have any questions or want to chat with our new Parks and Rec director, Ben Heistein, in the back, that I know he just wanted to make sure he was here and made available to you guys. Certainly very excited about. We've made a lot of progress in the last year on building some structure. And again, I mentioned this in the council meeting. This is one of those great ideal situations where I think Ben comes in from a very big city, running a very big department with fresh ideas, and then we also have a lot. I'm sure he is grateful. I know I'm grateful that we have a lot of support staff, supervisor staff that have been here a long time. So one's not better than the other. I think they're both the best at the same time. And Tanya did an amazing job as interim, and she's going to be extremely vital, I know, to Ben and certainly to the administration on how things move forward. So I'm really excited about the future of where we are with Parks and Rec. He's got a lot of work in front of him, I know that, but I know he's ready for it. I know I'm ready for it, and it's going to just take getting serious about maintaining the things that we have. And it's been mentioned before, that's not a who problem. The things that we deal with at Bay Bluffs, the things that isn't because someone decided last year or 2 years ago to not take care of it. Is that you can look at deferred maintenance anywhere you want in any city in the United States, and you're going to see it. What I think our challenge is for us to get our arms around it and to prioritize it, and know that just like streets, just like bridges, just like everything else, it doesn't matter what level of government, federal, state, or local, there's always going to be more maintenance than there is dollars to maintain. But I feel very confident in the trajectory that we're on, that we're going to get our arms around, prioritize what the most important things are, and start making the decision to invest in those. And again, that's not an employee-based failure. That's a system-based failure in not having the dollars over years of time in order to take care of the things that we have. So I think you guys have seen we've made a lot of strides in that, and that we're facing the issues that are in front of us now. And I know Ben, Tanya, the whole team will certainly moving forward be hopefully in a better position and better empowered to have the resources they need to maintain the things that we have. So again, excited to have Ben here and getting started. I think that is it for me. I'm happy to take whatever questions you have. Yeah.
Mayor, what in the new Parks Director's work history and experience specifically caught your attention that may have stood out from the other candidates?
Yeah,
other than that he came from a bigger
Yeah, well, I think if you look at his resume, he's been in big cities, he's been in little cities. I think he's got a diverse set of experiences that in terms of again, big cities, small towns. And I joked with the city council. He's got a background. He's got an arborist background that I know with all my discussions with city council about trees. I know they'll certainly appreciate. I know, and certainly will be a great another intelligent expert mind in an issue that we talk about a lot around here. But no, I think a complete diversity of experience in terms of not just size of city, but also size of department, also the areas of the country, geographically and otherwise. And what's always important to me, really, with any kind of selection is, at the end of the day, we're all in the people management business. I mean, that's what we're in, is having a good understanding of trying to do our best. And I'm imperfect but I try to do my best every day, that people that are happy to come to work every day, and that you can hire and you can retain people that want to be here. And so, when you talk at the assistant director or department director level, we're in the people management business first. It's about being able to delegate effectively. It's about being able to motivate the people that come there. So of course, you have to have technical expertise in those fields. But in my mind, equal to that is your ability to engage your employees. And so when we talk about the department director level, I would say one big priority for me is always that is having conversations about people management, because it is our most important asset. I don't say that lightly. The 800 people who work here are our most important asset, and that's why we need to invest in them, invest in training like we're doing, invest potentially in as we get ready for some pay reform here. We got to invest in them literally and make sure that they can make a good living and support their families. And so, I feel like that's a very huge factor, and especially at the supervisory level, is, how do you manage a department? How do you manage the people in it?
Mayor, how will you use this resident satisfaction survey?
Yeah, a lot of ways it becomes a little bit of a guiding document of just understanding what the city values, right? And so I gave you that example this morning. There's two different questions in here that refer to access to waterfront as a top priority. And, we can all assume that public safety is going to be a high priority always, generationally, long after I'm gone, long before I was here. I'll even give you a couple of the numbers. But what we asked the question, what do you love most about living in the city? And 42% say access to waterfront, 25% say arts, culture, and festivals. 14% say cost of living, which is also one of the biggest complaints. But in my mind, it's not so much that we would say, okay, well, we have to stop right now and do an $8 $50 million capital initiative on access to waterfront. But it's just nice to know, as we're making decisions and we're prioritizing different projects, that what's important to the citizen. And so that's what I mean by kind of a guiding document. If there's anything that is adverse to an initiative that we're having, maybe that's something that we take another look at. You'll see a lot of references to increased bike and pedestrian access as part of placemaking in here. And I'm very fortunate right now to be in a situation where 42% of people say that that's the number one thing they like about living in the city. We've got Bruce Beach. Phase 1's complete. Phase 2 on the way, which is increased access. The only non-hardscaped access waterfront in the city of Pensacola that doesn't have a seawall is at Bruce Beach. And so that's increased access. The Sun Trail funding we talked about last week, the bike and pedestrian path, that is waterfront access. Maybe not toes in the water, but is increased interactivity with the water. So we didn't have that surveyed at the start of both of those, but it does feel good, and it feels encouraging to know that a couple of the big projects we're working on are what the city is telling us they want. So we'll continue to look at those, and as I said, I think when we revamp this, what we want actionable data. We want to be able to read the questions, see what people want, and be able to act accordingly. I know this will be valuable as we start the strategic plan process, which I know is coming soon, the citywide strategic plan. We have a CRA update that's coming soon. So having this kind of data, I'm sure, for those folks is going to be very, very valuable as well.
On that same survey, we saw that the top three concerns were crime, housing, and homelessness, which I believe were the same concerns back when you talked about the same survey in February.
Yeah.
Just a response to that, is that something that we can just expect every single time?
Yeah. Well, the example I give, obviously public safety, again, generationally, public safety is going to, if it's not clearly the number one, it's going to always be on that list. I think any list in the United States of America right now will probably be pretty similar. I don't care if it's a red state or a blue state or east or west. I think y'all probably heard me say up here many times when I go to these U.S. Conference of Mayors events and get to interact with mayors all the time, those three issues, which really, recruitment and retention of police officers, but those three issues and fentanyl that is every mayor in this country's 1, 2, 3, and 4 in some way. Perhaps recruitment and retention of police officers a bigger challenge on the West Coast or in the Northeast than it is here, as an example. But still, it's the same 4. So that's not surprising, I guess. My reaction would be that's not surprising, and I'll talk again tonight on a lot of the efforts that we have made and the strides that we attempt to continue to push forward to make those happen. If all the answers were easy, all those mayors I was talking about would have already had the master plan for it. We'd all be implementing it. But as we know, different cities have different rules. Different states have different rules on what you can and can't do. So every single scenario has its own unique challenges. But I feel very confident in the direction forward in terms of the leaps and bounds we made in increasing public safety, what we're working on in homeless reduction, what we're working on in housing, given what we've been able to accomplish as we've gone through that list the last 11 and a half months. I feel really good about where we are.
Follow up on that, the question about crime and what people are concerned about with crime. Gun violence was by far and away the biggest concern. What do you think is driving that, and what do you plan to do about it?
Yeah, well, I would say the largest single adversary to gun crime in the city is about to be installed next month, which is the shot spotter technology that we earned a grant for, $840,000. As you know, will cover 3 square miles downtown going east. And if you recall, as you know, it's the technology that immediately tells you that a shot is rung out, which direction, what kind of firearm. We were actually even talking up on the 7th floor about one of our administrators saw something on TV where they were able to immediately just go with the data from a scene, figure out which direction they shot first, which way, and where people were going, and be able to jump on it like that on the spot. So I am very, very excited to get that going. We were through kind of an installation mode and working with FPL, and they've been very helpful, as helpful as they can be in terms of being able to put the hardware on. But our expectation is to have ShotSpotter up and running by early to mid-December. So we're very, very excited for that. Yes, it's a difficult situation. As you guys know, it's something that gets a lot of attention, understandably, a lot of headlines. And, in the case like we talked about last week, a shooting downtown is a crime on all of our quality of life, and the downtown businesses, all of that in the city, and especially in the densely populated where a lot of people are, that affects us in more than just the crime itself. It affects us in a lot of different ways, and that's why it has to be a priority. So I would say from what are we going to do about it standpoint, I think we have the single largest technological investment that the city's ever had in trying to combat that and trying to be on top of that. And as word gets out, if somebody feels like doing something stupid, maybe word will get out that won't be a good idea. That instead of thinking you've got 20 or 30 minutes to flee or to run, that you aren't going to have that anymore if you decide to be dumb enough to fire off gun in our city. So, so that's where we are right now, and certainly excited to get that up and going. Yep.
Mayor Malcolm Young, the city has issued a notice to award the demo contract.
Mm-hmm.
Two-part question. Will this have to go to the council for approval? And part two is, have you listed that property with any brokers?
Yeah.
And if you have, are you getting any feedback?
So, yeah, first question will have to go to council. I believe it'll have to go to CRA. Yeah, it'll have to go to CRA, as we told them at the time when we brought that up for discussion. It's you know, we were able to, it certainly fits comfortably inside the expectation of the budget, so that was good news in terms of the bid, that you know, we're not coming back with a number estimated way higher than we thought or anything like that, so that's good. And actually what we're working on, and Victoria and CRA has been working on, it's really, Motor Lodge was really the first in the queue, and what I mean is we're talking about really an unprecedented RFP that the city of Pensacola has not done before, which is ultimately to say, we've got this piece of property, we have $1 million invested in it. I'm talking about Motor Lodge, but I'll convey how that works with Malcolm Young. So we are building out this foundational RFP that says, we have an investment, this is what we would like to see out of this investment. And as you can imagine, that's not just putting a sign in the yard and taking the highest bidder. That's not what we're interested in doing. So to answer your second question, no, we have not put a sign in the yard at Malcolm Young, or have not made any steps towards that. The CRA will hopefully approve the demolition of a building. What we have done is we've done some internal analysis on how many units can be built there, under the current zoning. And what our primary focus has been and remains to be is workforce housing. Yeah, so we're going to look at, there's a lot of wrinkles to that. Senate Bill 102, would you be able to go more dense? You got to make sure there's places to park. We want to make sure that it fits the neighborhood, all those in terms of density, all those things. But as you guys know, that I'm very big on, is becoming, thickening our neighborhoods, allowing more people to have opportunities, more units, that are in our inventory. So I think how this is going to roll, I just met with Victoria last week on this, is once we get this RFP worked out for Motor Lodge, which again is first in the queue, we're going to really convey that same concept of that RFP will go over to Malcolm Young with a change in what we're looking for. It might go to 80 to 120% AMI, for example, something like that. So we've been working on that. Certainly want to make sure that we get that right, and then we'll move forward from there. But no, we are not going to be at this point. We are not going to be considering, again, the sign in the yard, unsolicited, offers for the property. We're going to run it through that process to make sure that we're enhancing our community.
But you're treating the Pensacola sports property a little differently.
Yes,
there is
absolutely.
A sign out there.
Absolutely. Our intent with Pensacola sports is highest and best tax revenue, so we can do things like buy the Pensacola Motor Lodge. That's a small prime piece of property. We will have preferences within an RFP. The sign that's out front is for short-term rental, by the way. So that's not for sale. It's a for lease sign. So what we would entertain is if someone needed office space for 9 months, for 12 months, for something like that, as we get our RFP and get our house in order in terms of getting something out there, then we would entertain that. But we won't be signing a 3-year lease or anything like that at that property. I mean, it's in good office space that's in good shape. But what we all know is from when it was built, it's extremely underutilized and therefore undertaxed for its location. So what we're looking for at Pensacola Sports is apples and oranges compared to Motor Lodge and Malcolm Young. What we're looking for is highest and best tax revenue because we know that those dollars go back to the Urban Core CRA, of which allows us to invest in the other 2 type projects. And so when you hear me always say that, you can rub your head and pat your belly at the same time, or vice versa. That's what we mean. Is there should be projects where we're maximizing revenue, our largest revenue stream, which is property tax, and there's others where we are the subsidy. Pensacola Motor Lodge, we are going to be the subsidy. We are not expecting that someone's going to buy this from us for $1 million and then put in low-income housing or affordable housing. So we know that there's going to be a subsidy required on our behalf. What funds it? Projects like what would go at Pensacola Sports, when they're going vertical and making that, the highest and best maximum use. So we are not looking to do any. We'll entertain anything, of course. We would never rule out that if somebody proposed some kind of affordable element to that. But I imagine, given the location, given the cost, the property value, I'm expecting that we'll see either some kind of residential or commercial, based, market rate situation there.
And Malcolm Young, you had said earlier that you hope to have it demolished by the end of the year, next month maybe, and that seems reasonable. But to get this RFP out and get things moving at that property, what time frame are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I would say at this point I wouldn't want to commit to, it's going to be February or it's going to be March. What I can tell you is that I know we have been working very closely with Florida Housing and others about best practices for this RFP with Pensacola Motor Lodge. And so I feel very confident that once that is solidified quickly, we're going to have an opportunity to just convey that over to Malcolm Young. So a lot of the legwork or the holdup on having any kind of RFP ready is the fact that we want to get this first one right, since we're going to be using that foundationally for other projects. So that's where we are, at the moment. But as soon as reasonable. I mean, we, understand in my mind, we signed a lease 2-3 years ago to a private enterprise. In other words, it hasn't created any public value for the last several years to this point, and that's no knock on the facility and its history. I just mean, it's not that it's creating any more value to the public good now than it was when I got here. But we want it to create value to the public good, which I see as affordable housing, as workforce housing that is, helping enhance our community. So we'll move as quickly as we can.
You mentioned done an internal review to see how many units can go in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say as present with some work that would need to happen with zoning variances, things like that. I want to say 14, and I don't want to be held to that because I'm going off memory, but somewhere in that range. But again, that does not factor in Senate Bill 102. That doesn't factor in other mechanisms. But we wanted to get a lay of the land of, can 6 houses go there? Can 8 houses go there? And by the way, the 14 would also be some kind of attached townhome type situation. If say we were to enter in an agreement with Habitat on their land trust, as an example. Well, as you know, Habitat does more of the, they may have exceptions where they do attach, but, typically they're doing standalone, homes. Well, maybe that's not 14. We would have to look at that. So, But really, that's for our knowledge. I mean, at the end of the day, we know that when the RFP goes out, people are going to analyze it and they're going to say, here's what we propose, and that's why we want to make sure this RFP is written correctly. Is we want to say, here's what our preferences are as a city. This is what we think brings value. This is our non-starters that you have to accomplish. Here are our preferences. That we'd like it to be X, Y, and Z. And then bring us your best ideas, and so hopefully we got some creative, imaginative developers and folks in construction that can meet our needs and do a good job of the project. Would we entertain, for example, another conversation that around this is, would we entertain mixed income there? In other words, if a proposal came in and they said, well, we were going to build 4 market rate units, and then we're going to do 4 at 60 and 4 at, we would we're going to entertain all of that. We're not going to say you absolutely can't. We're going to say, hey, roll it out there and see what we got. So, but
Mayor,
yeah,
excuse me.
go ahead.
It seems to me that AMI would drive whatever developer's calculus would
Sure.
be. And who would prescribe the AMI? The city, or would you just let a developer come in and say, at an AMI of this is what we could do?
Well, this is me speculating, but I imagine with so much focus on 80% AMI with Senate Bill 102, a lot of the benefits of 102 are going to be 70 plus units. So I don't suspect that's going to happen at Malcolm Young, but I just mean there's going to be a state recognized for example, if we do get a Senate Bill 102 project where it's over 70 units and a certain percentage is 80% AMI, they're going to have to revalidate that every year, as an example. That to get that tax abatement, they'll have to come and say, this is what the new 80% is for this year. This is how many units that we have that are charging that amount. All of those things. So if you want that abatement, you're going to have to just show that every year. So I feel very confident that we'll have clear, transparent mechanisms of, it's not going to be a subjective 80%. I mean, we've got, I'm sure Meredith, all of our teams got, that we're going to settle on a very clear black and white, scenario of what that number is. And I know it's set, there's federal and state, ways to set that. So.
Mayor, two quick questions. We have a lot of people wondering about an update on the old Grand Hotel property downtown.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any update on that, and then as well as the status of the replacement of the old fishing bridge.
Yeah. So first, I actually had a conversation with some of the ownership group at the Grand Hotel, and I've had a couple meetings that I think I've mentioned to you guys before. Proactively, meeting with potential buyers of it. It's a big building, and obviously hotel rooms and having more hotel keys in this city is good for our city. I would always entertain those meetings or see if there's any way that we could be helpful. I certainly am concerned about the historic aspect of the old railroad station there. But I had a good conversation with their leadership, and they are taking proactive steps to preserve that conditioning the building, things like that people may not assume that they are. So I wouldn't assume that at the end of the day that there's insurance claims to deal with, and they're selling a large building to deal with. So again, I don't want to speak for them and what their intent is, but I inquired the same way you are, and I am encouraged by the fact that they are not just letting those buildings sit there, but that they are investing their own dollars in it to keep it as as preserved as possible while they go through this scenario. So. And then the second was the fishing bridge. So that's a county. I know it's confusing because the city's park, and then you get to the bridge, and it becomes the county's. I'd let Wes or one of the county commissioners speak to time. I'd hate to misspeak on the timeline, but I do know that there's progress underway, and that some of our folks here at the city and the county, because we've got a lot of projects happening at Wayside. We're trying to make sure that we coordinate that. We don't put down new pavement and then the trucks with all the bridge equipment come and tear it up, right? So, so we're coordinating. But I expect there to be some. The last update I'd received is that there was going to be some progress at the first part of next year, in at least getting the process started. But again, I don't want to venture out any further than that because things may have changed, and it's been a few weeks since I've had that conversation with them. But that's a significant project. That's certainly the cost of that is certainly much larger even than the entire project at Wayside. So I know it'll be, quite a. I don't know how long or anything like that, but I know it'll be quite a lift for them. So, but I expect to see some movement here pretty soon.
Mayor, I know we're getting long here, but
Sorry?
can we ask the new Parks Director a question?
Sure. Well, what I'll do, let me answer. Yeah, come on up, Ben. If y'all have anything else for me, and then I'll let him close this out. The main attraction.
The airport, we got the busiest.
Yes.
Travel season coming up. Is the airport getting geared up for the busy travel?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as you know, and as we're made aware, we understand the parking situation. We've got parking that we're in the midst of modernizing what we have. And the reality is, as I'll discuss tonight, that again, kind of like what I just mentioned about parks, that someone didn't make a decision in Parks and Rec 3 years ago to just not take care of things that we have. The airport, when you see the numbers that I show you, again, whether it's baggage claim, whether it's our security line, whether it's where our passengers sit waiting for the plane, we waved bye-bye to those capacities years ago. We're talking about 1.4 million passengers. We're going to eclipse 2.7. And we've already broken our all-time record that was set last year already this year before this holiday season starts. So I know that our citizens are feeling the pain of the inconvenience and all of those things, but I don't want it to be presumed that we aren't working extremely diligently on a multi-million dollar modernization of what we have, and certainly it's my number one priority legislatively to get us to the size that we need. So yes, I would of course warn everyone to arrive early. If you think there's going to be parking issues and Uber or a taxi is an option for you, I certainly would recommend that. One of the great benefits of our location of our airport is that we all travel around here. You've been to many airports that are 30, 40 miles outside of town. One of the great benefits we have of our airport is right in the heart of town. It's much more reasonable to be able to take a cab there and not worry about all of that. But what I can tell you is our team out there is extremely diligent and smart, and they're working day and night to get us to where we need to be. But they've also been handed a situation that in many facets of our airport is, as I've joked with y'all before, we've not bursting at the seams. We waved bye-bye to those seams many years ago, that we haven't seen them in a while. So we are working as hard as we can, and fingers crossed. We had another call with some of our state delegation yesterday about just how important that's going to be to get those dollars going and be able to expand our terminal. And again, I'll even talk a little bit about that during the
Potential
thing.
also shutdown coming up, TSA and the flight controls,
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to speak to how that relates. I know there's a different. I don't know that would be affected. I think that's a different set of folks, and Matt would have to answer that for you. But what we do know, to your question, what we know is, we have 12 gates. We have 3,000 more people a day going through those 12 gates than we did 10 years ago. That's what we have. So that, and I totally understand. Again, sometimes if the line's longer or parking's been out in the overflow lot, obviously I hear from folks that happens to, and I get it that hasn't been their job to go get an airport terminal. It's that job's on us. That job's on me, and we couldn't be working any faster. I remind everybody, when I got here, we didn't even have the money for the design. That was one of the first things we did in the first 3 weeks, because we knew. I saw the numbers that we had, and there was nothing that was more timely. And so we're glad that design is, that process is moving forward, and that hopefully by the time we have these dollars to spend, that right when that design's complete, we're ready to move right into construction. So, all right, I'll have Ben come up unless y'all have anything else for me. Okay, thanks, guys.
Good morning.
Welcome to Pensacola.
Thank you so much. I just would like to say that I really appreciated the warm welcome I've received from the community and mayor and all the elected officials and city staff. It's great to be here and given the chance to work on our park system and enhance it, make it the best system for our residents and visitors. We have an amazing collection of parks and resource centers, golf course, and recreational programming, and I've just been so impressed so far with the team that we have, and I really appreciate the confidence that y'all have put in me to lead our parks department, and I really look forward to working in Pensacola.
So my question is, public-private commercial partnerships as a means to make sure that parks are well funded. Nationally, that seems to be a growing trend. Things like naming rights, concessionaires, user fees, things like that. What are your thoughts on the role of public-private ventures within a city's park system?
Well, certainly they're an integral part of many park systems, and everything that you mentioned, from concessionaires to operator agreements and use agreements, can definitely enhance the activity in parks. And we have a number of those situations here in Pensacola. And there's always opportunity to bring on the private sector to help run facilities that are within our parks, and kind of enhance the visitor experience, enhance the revenue generating capacity of some of our facilities, and so there's definitely a role, and there's also a role for sponsorships and endowments even, and so there's a lot of possibilities.
Thank you.
Okay, let me ask this question: Is came from Dallas to Pensacola? What about Pensacola specifically attracted you to here? And just coming in after a week, is there any major differences you see between those two departments?
Yes, there's night and day difference between coming from a city of 1.2 million in the middle of the country to out here on the coast. And this is a beautiful town, beautiful city. I am originally from a coastal community in California, so in my heart, I've always wanted to kind of come back to the coast, and I love being near the water, speaking from a personal standpoint. But I really love the ability to kind of affect the community in a positive way in a smaller city environment. There's a lot more that I can do to enhance the experience for the visitors and residents using our parks in a smaller community such as Pensacola. I really enjoyed working in Dallas in a bigger city environment, and within that bigger city environment, it's a very complex animal. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of challenges, and I feel that I've had a lot of good experience and exposure to all kinds of issues in a bigger kind of metroplex environment that I can bring, use some of those strategies to solve problems in that environment to Pensacola, because there's a common theme amongst all of the park systems, whether it's a big city or a small city that I've worked in, where the parks have infrastructure challenges. There's needs to update just the facilities and the grounds, balancing the new construction with the need to maintain our existing system, and empowering the staff to really have the resources to keep it going and sustain that, for the community. And I think that's just a theme throughout the parks industry. It tends to be very appreciated, but underappreciated in the sense that it's hard to get dollars for maintenance and operations and the things that it really needs to sustain itself. And that's one of the really big focuses I hope to prioritize here, and the result of which will just be updating our parks and our infrastructure, optimizing our programming for the needs of the community today and going forward.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.